Welcome to Spiritual Friends Sangha at the Dharma Collective today. My name is Jorge Lopez, and I will be leading the service today. So I would like to start off with taking refuge. And for those of you that are comfortable, you could take 3 bows as we hit the bell, and I'll guide the bell. Okay, so the first refuge is to the Buddha. Go ahead. Our second refuge is to the Dhamma. Our third refuge is to the Sangha, to us. We're going to start off this service tonight with doing a 20-minute mindful meditation practice. The purpose of this meditation is not for relaxation. It is to be present at this very moment. It's going to be guided. How I prefer to do this meditation is with the lights on, bright, because I don't want to fall asleep. This is not what the purpose of this meditation is. It's not for relaxation. It's to develop mindfulness, to be in the present moment and not attached to our thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions. So we'll start off with 3 sounds of the bell. I will guide part of it. I will leave portions of it without speaking, and then we will end the meditation with the 3 rings of the bell. You can start loosening up your body, maybe open up your shoulders. You could gently rest your hands in your lap. You could try to erect your spine a little, tilt your head a little. If it helps, you could leave your eyes just a little bit open and just be present. You can start putting your tongue on the top part of your mouth. Let it sit there. You could take one controlled breath in. Let your chest fill up with air. and then release it. Repeat this one more time. And one last time. Control the breath, breathe in, and breathe out. Let your breathing be natural. You can notice it. There is no effort. As you breathe, you're just noticing the breath, inhaling and exhaling. There's no need to try to control the breath. Just let it be natural. Each breath has a beginning. As it goes into your nostrils, fills up your lungs. Sometimes it may stay there for a split second, and then it releases by itself. We're just observing, no judgment, no story. It starts over. Each breath has a birth, a life, and a natural death. It's impermanent. To help us maintain our concentration, we're going to mentally note the end of the breath as in. If there's a pause as you're breathing, you could say pause. If there isn't, there's no need. And as the breath is leaving your body, you could say out, in, out, in, out. If you have a thought, a bodily sensation, any form of mental formations, noises, you could acknowledge them, but do not engage with them. You could just gently return to the breath. Every thought, feeling, mental formation, bodily sensation, emotion are made of the same element as the breath. They have a birth, a life, and a natural death. Without holding on to them, their death will come sooner. Acknowledging our visitors and returning to the breath. If we have to do this 1,000 times in one sit, you are succeeding in the practice. If you have been engaging with a thought or a feeling, with kindness and gentleness towards you, go back to the breath. You are succeeding in meditation. You're being present at this moment. Our attention to the breath should be gentle, soft, not rigid. You don't need to force nothing. Our mindfulness is just paying attention to what's visiting us without engaging. We are objective observers of our mind. In the same way sound comes and it goes, they form like the clouds in the sky and disappear into nothing. If you feel comfortable, you can let go of the mental noting of in and out. And just be mindful of the breath. Be mindful of whatever visits you, a tingling sensation in the nose, stiffness in your body. If it's bothering you, you could perhaps move your attention to that direction and just feel with no judgment. Maybe pressure on your shoulders, on the palms of your hands. If you have a thought or feeling that keeps on visiting you and you have been engaged with it, you could take 3 controlled breaths and then re-engage in the mindfulness of the breath. This is how you unhook yourself from these phenomenons. You could let go of the breath now and just be mindful of the present moment. Perhaps a sound will arise. You could be mindful of that. You can't hold on to it because it will be impermanent. You could be mindful of a bodily sensation, maybe a little heat in the lower back, a little stiff neck, but it will have the same nature. A birth, a life, and a natural death. You can't hold on to it. A thought may visit you, and if you engage in it, it will transform to different things. It's not permanent. Eventually it will go away. It's best not to engage with it. Just acknowledge it. could slowly start opening up your eyes, fixing your gaze, your eyes, your vision. Start moving your body, your fingers, waking up your toes. This is the end of the meditation. So today's topic is going to be on particularly how I dealt with uncertainty going into my incarceration at the age of 19. But before I start, I see some, I assume that most people here have been practicing Buddhism, but I'm just going to speak a little bit about how I understand Buddhism and what we did, and then we'll do a little round of introductions, and it'll come with a question as well. So when we started this service, we posturated 3 times to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So my understanding of Buddhism comes not strictly, but mostly from the lineage of Ajahn Chah, the forest Thai tradition. And what I understand when we take a bow to the Buddha, we're taking a bow out of respect to the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. And but we're not worshiping. It's not a form of worship. It's just a symbol of wisdom and the wisdom that we strive to achieve. The Dharma, it's the teaching of the Buddha. It's also a symbol of truth. And the Sangha, we're the Sangha today, but it's also a symbol of virtue that we're trying to achieve. And the meditation that I did today is pretty much what I do on my daily practice, what I did for not 20 something years, but for roughly about 16 or 15 years in prison until my release, and then continued. Okay, so before I start, because I'm speaking about my experience going into prison, then I think it should be to fill in some gaps, a little background on myself. So I'm 46 years old. I was born in Stockton, California. My parents they're not native of this country. They're from Mexico. I don't know what status they had when they came over here. My father was murdered 7 days after I was born, so I didn't know him. Growing up, I grew up with distorted values. To put it in a nutshell, from people that should have been my guidance, my teachers in life, taught me to always retaliate, always to escalate the violence to get the upper hand. And I carry those values. My surroundings also reinforced that, my peers. So as I got older, I started engaging in alcohol, hanging out with the wrong crowd, which I was part of the wrong crowd. It's kind of like there's a saying of some MC that we are the people our parents warned us not to hang out with. That's who I really was, I got into an altercation when I was 19, and I got the worst end of it. And I retaliated, and my retaliation, I wound up taking the life of a person that was not involved in my altercation. I missed my mark. I missed my target. And that put me into prison for 25 years to life. That was the sentence that I was given. As I was fighting my case, that's where the uncertainty has always been in everybody's life. But I didn't know what sentence I was going to be facing. Was I going to receive the life sentence? Was I going to receive a number of years that would guarantee me a release date? What was going to happen? My mind was, my head was too big for my body to carry. It was just blown up with all the worries, the stories that I told myself. They're going to give me 7 years. They're going to give me 6 months. I could do that in my head. I was just being a tough guy. When the district attorney showed me that the lowest they would be willing to negotiate was 25 years to life. And if I don't take it, I'll go to trial and lose, and I would have lost. I would be in prison without the possibility of parole. I would die in prison. So it gave me a sense of hope that if I change, I could come back to society. We know the end of that story, so I'm here. So it was very shocking. It was like, whoa, how can they do this to me? You know, that's my arrogance, right? How can they do this to me? I didn't know what was I gonna face in prison. All I knew about prison was stories that people told from the street, what Hollywood gave me. And I was scared because one of the stigmas of prisons is always being assaulted by another man. And I said, well, if somebody tries to do that to me, I'm never getting out because I'm going to kill them. And so I went with this mentality. It was distorted. And my lawyer sat down with me and showed me the law that I'll be pleading guilty to, 25 years. After 24 years, I'll have a hearing. And then if they find me suitable to return to society, they will release me at my 25th year. So I pleaded guilty. I was sent to Tracy, to DVI. That's reception center. And my time there, I was always on guard, high alert, always paranoid. And I didn't know what to do. But right there is where I first read my first Buddhist book. It was called Western Buddhism. And it started speaking about the Four Noble Truths. And it talked about suffering. It talked about attachment. And so I can't get up to the refrigerator. I don't have control when I take a shower. I don't have nothing of that nature. So it was speaking truth to me about what it is to hold on to certain things, and now that you don't have them, how you start suffering behind that, how you start having this mental affliction. I mean, having a craving at 6 o'clock and you can't go to the refrigerator. You don't have that liberty. They tell you when you shower. And that's just the nature of prison. And then you have to deal with the population, their politics. You're Mexican, you don't fellowship with other races. And then within Mexicans, they're separated into two different groups, gangs. And then you don't listen to the laws of society. You listen to the laws of your gang, to the sub laws, which is just going to get you into a crash. They don't care about you. They're just going to do this. So eventually I went to High Desert State Prison. I kept on reading Buddhism, but I was not engaging in it. And you can't engage in it when you're doing that stuff. It doesn't work. You can't worship two gods. You can't worship the gods of the inmate politics and prostrate to the Dharma. You're going to betray one or the other. And if you're going to go with the Dharma, then just make peace or you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. So I read the books. I thought they were great. I read other religions. I was like, well, they sound good, but who knows? And one thing that I learned very quickly during the terms of my incarceration is that the plea deal that I got, 25 to life, they weren't releasing people, regardless. Governor Gray Davis, and before him, Pete Wilson, and I don't know about Duke Majan, but those governors said, if you go to prison with a life sentence, even if it has at the end with the possibility of parole, while I'm governor, make peace that you will die in prison. So that happened. And everybody told me the same thing. I kept on reading the newsletters of lifers. Same thing. Denied, denied. People had all they had all the knots tightened and everything, and they still would get denied. So what does that leave me with? Like, is this it? Is this going to be my life? Do I just look at what's going my life is just going to be spent in a cell that's the size of a bathroom, maybe smaller, depending who lives there. So it was horrible. So that's, I have to deal with that reality. And then I had to deal with the reality of the prison, going out to a yard and not knowing what's going to happen. We're out here working out one day, and then a melee goes off. And they tell me, the guys that I'm hanging out with, get on the ground. And they're shooting these little canisters to hit the people. They're not bullets. The bullets come later. And so that was the reality of my incarceration for a number of years. At one point, a fight broke out, a fist fight. And they start shooting live rounds, and I'm on the ground, and they're just popping up right there. The sand's just going up where my dog's at right here. I understood right there that even if I'm not looking for trouble, I could lose my life. Just the nature of where I'm at. So there is no actual safety in prison. Stay in your cell 24 hours, it's not going to work. You'll go crazy. So I kept on reading the Buddhist material. It was intriguing. One of the books that really helped me was by the Dalai Lama, Ethics for the New Millennium. He exposed, in my view, how everybody suffers. People with money, with palaces, and he knows because he is invited to these places. He opens up the cabinets, the medicine cabinets, and see all these prescription drugs for mental illnesses with rich people. So it's not poor people. Eventually, I went and talked to the administration. I said, I want to go to protective custody. I want nothing to do with this stuff after a number of years. And they took me out. They asked me why and so forth. There's a process. And then they put me in a waiting orientation to be transferred. Right there, one of my roommates attacked me. And as I was allegedly trying to practice the Dharma, I didn't fight back. So I'm all battered in the cell. And when the cop comes, the guard comes, I ask for help. They take me out. And this guy said I allegedly stabbed him with a pin filler, with a straw with a little metal point. You can't stab nobody. They give you those pin fillers so you won't stab nobody. So it's not a weapon. But long story short, I was found guilty, and instead of going to protective custody, I went to solitary confinement. And I spent 2 years with me, myself, and my thoughts. I was hoping to get out of there and to catch the 2006 World Cup. I was a big soccer fan. No, they just threw me to ADSEG. It's the same thing as solitary confinement, but they just take away your TV. And so right there and then when I left, I really wanted to find direction in my life. And I already tried it with the inmates. That's not going to work. Um, in 2008, I went back to the faith of my childhood along with practicing Buddhism. After a year of meditating, sitting in the cell, doing the very meditation that I led today, it was I was not practicing with a teacher. I have one next to me. I have two over there, and then I have another one here. This room it has no lacks of teachers. Um, I was practicing out of a book called Mindfulness in Plain English, and that was my guide. And I found out that there was a service in the yard that I landed. I said, all right, I'm a fellowship with a bunch of Buddhists. When I tried to go to the service, there was some kind of drama. People were using the Sangha to politic, to have control, because we don't have a lot of control in prison. So if we have some kind of control, it gives people a sense of safety, a sense of self-worth. I'm a leader of this, I'm a leader of that. It was, there was one person trying to push the service to this certain tradition, and another one trying to push it to a different tradition. And it was just inner politics. It was crazy. We brought in teachers, but their visits were few and far in between. I continued to practice regardless. I kept on reading the Dharma, this and that. And I started realizing that when you understand suffering, that's your first part of right view. And when you understand that, you start having the right aspirations or the right intentions. And that's very important because even as I was practicing Buddhism, I didn't understand what I was really doing. So my Dharma teachings were often, I guess you could say, they came from the school of hard knocks. Some of my friends, my brothers in Buddhism were on the veggie diet, and the Theravada tradition does not emphasize that. But I went on it. I had correctional officers that refused to bring me my veggie tray, not because they couldn't make it, not because, and it was nothing special. They just don't put a meat, they'll put a little package of peanut butter, put some more beans on there. That's all it is. It's nothing special. But they just felt that they have the power and I don't deserve nothing. And the same thing with my brothers and other people that were on the veggie diets always had that problem. There was times where I didn't get fed. I made the mistake. It was the day that President Barack Obama was inaugurated. They did not want to bring me my tray, so I did not. My roommate had his tray in the cell, and I didn't give it back. All trays has to go back before count gets cleared. I did not. I started kicking the door. Well, one, they didn't bring me my tray, and two, they moved me, and they moved me with a person that has a history of fighting his roommates. Unavoidably, that happened. I did ask for help. I still wound up there, and I didn't get in trouble. I did defend myself, but going back to the right understanding and the right aspiration, because I had documentation that I asked for help, I knew they were never going to write me up because then I'll turn around and sue them. But I told myself the wrong aspiration. I could get away with this. I could fight this guy. I didn't say I could defend myself, or I don't have to go back into the cell. And when I engaged in the fight, I wound up getting moved. And when I was sat back down in meditation, my meditation was very gloomy, dark, heavy for 3 months. I continued. And I do believe that was the inner turmoil that was going on for taking the wrong action, a wrong inspiration. So that part of the Eightfold Path, the right intention, you could be right in the world's view, how society would view it, legally, etc. But in the Dharma, it catches up back to you. So and every time I have the wrong intentions, I see this falling back in me. I might not have the consequences exteriorly, but I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my mind. It shows up in my meditation. It's, so that's one of the things that I really learned early on and I forgot. After that, I continued to meditate. I kind of figured I haven't seen nobody be released with a sentence that I have. Said, something, just dedicate yourself to the Dharma. Sit down. A lot of things came up in my mind that I wanted to bury, that I've forgotten about it. Childhood trauma, abuse. And then let's not act like I was just a victim of society. Things that I done too popped up like, oh shoot, I don't want to remember this. I don't want to be this person. And so I was not happy, but I was being at peace, waking up every morning, prostrating, meditating, chanting my Buddhist books, reading the Dharma, putting my TV away only on Sundays because I still had an attachment to soccer. And it was fun. It wasn't fun. It was peaceful. And I didn't understand that. And around 2008, around the time after the elections of Obama, there's a number of things that happened that affected me in the future. Number one, there was a proposition, talk about uncertainty. When I was sentenced, I was told that if I was denied parole, I would be called back in 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 years. Under Marcy law, they changed that. Under Marcy law, they could deny me 3, 5, 7, 10, or 15 years. That's a new sentence altogether. So I did not see that coming. That's what uncertainty is, right? You're walking into the unknown. So I said, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I'm practicing the Dharma. I'm dealing with my emotions. Throughout the day, sometimes a thought will come like, you're never going to be a father. You're never going to get married. You're never going to know, what it is to travel across the country, etc. So that was my reality. And I said, when those thoughts come, you'll handle them. You acknowledge them, you'll feel them, and you let them leave you, just like we did in the meditation. And I started looking into the precepts, which they come into the Eightfold Path. The first two were the wisdom, and then the precepts come into the next three. They're right livelihood, right speech, and right action. And that's where you get the rest of like, don't kill, have a proper sexual conduct, and don't take intoxicants. These are where it goes. So I wasn't drinking. I stopped that. It was happening. It was, there's drugs, there's alcohol in there. I don't need to get into how they get in there, but they're in there. And I stood away from that. And actually, I isolated from most people because I didn't want to have any loyalty to nobody other than the Dharma. Some of my brothers, even in the Sangha, were they had their issues, just like I had mine. So I just kept on meditating in the morning and the afternoon. Throughout the day, when I'm engaging, I'm walking and I'm taking deep breaths. Why is that important is because when you're engaging in the breath, your mind is right here. It's not in the future. That's where uncertainty lies. Or it's not worrying about things you did in the past. Like one of the things that I like about the precepts of right speech is don't talk about other people, because when you're talking about other people and then they walk into the room, we feel that awkwardness, right? Like, oh, did they hear me? There's that uncertainty. So when I had conversations, I would take deep breaths to create that space to hear the person.
So let's take a couple deep breaths.
So there were some bells, and we just let them ring. They clearly had a birth, a life, and a natural death. And so that's, taking a deep breath on a daily basis really helped. Around 2010, things really started to change. Jerry Brown came into office, and he started releasing people. He started amending his mistakes of the past. And it was him that changed the laws under his governmentship in the 70s. And there was court rulings that gave guidance to what to do where the board cannot deny you. Now I started getting really interested. I started drifting away from the Dharma and paying attention to what's happening over here, hanging out with people in recovery who's telling me what needs to be done. In the prison that I was being housed in, only one person in the 6 years that I was there got out. Later, I went to CTF, and the very same day that I went to eat, they told me some guy whose nickname was Radar, because he looked like Radar from MASH, he's being released today. I said, oh, wow, this is real. This is really happening. This was like a very shock of cultures. Another thing is that I was in a level 4, a higher level, and I went directly to a level 2, and I got paranoid because the level 4s have gunners. If somebody attacks you, there's a gun right there that will start shooting. There was no gunners right there because it was a lower level. People were laying on the grass. I got like, you guys are crazy. A year later, I started laying on the grass too. So it was a very culture. It was a big shock. I wound up doing some vocational training. People invited me to groups on the yard to prepare for the board. These men helped me, shaped me. I did a 4 step from the AA, and that was something very difficult to do because everything that had popped up in meditation, I was putting it on paper. And again, those things that happened to me and those things that I done, both that I wanted to take to the grave, I spoke on it. So there was a lot of uncertainty. Law started changing for people that committed crimes under the age of 18. They bumped it up to 23 and then to 25. And they put them in different criteria and hearings. And instead of being on the 24th year, I went on my 23rd year. And going into my parole hearing, I was extremely nervous. I didn't know because they could use confidential information. They tell you what it could be. There was one but I knew what it was and I wasn't worried about it. But the crime that I committed, given that I took an innocent person's life, and I had the understanding, I engaged in it. The commissioners kept on being very rude with me. They made me second guess myself. But I said, I've been practicing Buddhism. I did my 12 steps, and I trust them both. Even when I second guessed myself, I said, I just go with what you got. And when you get that 5-year denial, you go with your friends and you'll look at the transcripts and see where you went wrong. At the end of the hearing, it didn't dawn on me that the district attorney did not cross-examine me. He had no questions for me. And his closing statement was that I should be commended for all the work that I did, but based on the brutality of the crime, that I should be given more time in prison to continue working on my recovery. He never highlighted where I lacked it. And the 20 minutes they went to deliver, they were the longest 20 minutes of my life. There was a correctional officer, and I started reaching out to the correctional officer, asking them questions, and then he started bringing me some peace to me. He goes, you're going to go home. Everything I heard from you, you got it. And before we went on screen, on the record, the commissioner told me, we're going to let you know you're going to be granted parole. So I was granted parole. I had a very spiritual high. And then after that, you get 120 days where a panel will review the findings of the board. So that brought a lot of butterflies. Can they do something to me? Can they, which the panel normally doesn't do it. And then it goes to the governor. This time it was Governor Newsom. And he has the power to embunk you, send you back to another hearing with concern, saying, this is not clear, or I don't like this. Or he could find a reason to remove your date, or he could just leave it alone. Those were now the 30 longest days of my life. I had the 20-minute longest time of my life and the 30th, and it was just frustrating. Thoughts were visiting me throughout that time. I remember I was having unintentional body movements. My fingers were twitching, like if you see a hummingbird flying, where you can't see the wing. And I can't replicate that because it was like so fast. I seen my arm one time I was asleep, it just went up. All kinds of other things. As I sat there on my bed with my emotions, I engaged in the same mindfulness practice. Feeling them, letting them go. There was a hummingbird that kept on visiting my window. Perhaps I made up a story and I said, this hummingbird is telling me everything's going to be okay. I needed that crutch. The night, the night that hit 30 days for the governor to say yes or no, it was in the middle of the summer and there was lightning. And then to top it off, my roommate, who was playing softball, got injured and had to go to the hospital. So I just said to myself, I'm gonna go to sleep. In the morning, I'm gonna find a paper slid in on the side of my door saying that I got denied, embunked, or whatever. Whatever happens, happens. I'll deal with it. I gotta go to sleep. I went to sleep. My roommate came around 2 in the morning. I told him, if you want to take a bird bath, take a bird bath. He goes, are you okay? You don't mind all the noise? I'm like, shit. The noise that I got in my head compared to what you're going to do, just take a bird bath? You think I care about that? Nah, go for it, man. So, yeah, there was, but I didn't get no notification of anything. There's been people that packed up their stuff and then they read on the TikTok, ticker talks and on the TV, the little subtitles, whatever, that they got their parole, their their freedom pulled, that the governor pulled at the last minute when they have their stuff packed up to be released the next day. So I was like, I was, I asked my teacher in vocation, can you look me up? And he was playing games with me. I asked a counselor who I couldn't get a hold of. My counselor asked another one, and I got a lot of attitude, and my mind was ready to explode. I'm like, am I going home or am I staying here? And I used all my Buddhist practice. I went, vented to my friends, talked, got everything. Yoshi and John would go, and they thought, I thought you left already. And it was just, it started off with what's going to happen in my parole hearing, and I'm out here in the middle of the summer still stressing. Like, it was like the most stressful time of my life. Finally, somebody told me, go to the library and have the librarian look it up. And then the librarian looked it up, and he says, you're going home, short timer. The day that I was waiting for the governor to pull my date, he actually said he's not touching it 2 days earlier. He's just left it alone. So he's not denying me. He's not supporting me either. He's saying, my hands are washed. And I still didn't believe it. It's prison. Prison is just that's the way it is. And but I kept on using the tools that I had from Buddhism. And we go to the mindfulness. We go, don't force it. It's not going to happen. That's the right effort, right? Just be gentle with yourself. Walk. Take those deep breaths. Okay. Be mindful. This is what you're feeling. If we could control what we're feeling, there's no need for Buddhism, right? I would be happy all the time.
Maybe wouldn't appreciate
Yeah.
it anymore.
So it's just be mindful of what's happening, right? And just give the right effort, So that's what I was doing. I finally, the day that I projected that I was going to be released, the day before that, I went to talk to there's a parole office inside prison. And I got a hold of the lady. And she told me, well, you're supposed to be released tomorrow. I go, my counselor, nobody, only the librarian told me that I'm good, who has no authority on this. And so she told me, well, I'm going to look up why you haven't been notified. Well, my name is Jorge Armando Lopez. And when I was running with a disturbance group, AKA a gang, I was running with the National Mexicans from Mexico. They were looking if I had any ICE holds. That's why they were not informing me. So I'm like, well, if you're going to deport me, but just get me out of prison, I'm okay with that. Apparently, nothing happened. At the end of the yard, I'm still stressing. I'm sweating bullets. I'm talking to people. And I'm still engaging. And these feelings just won't leave me alone. They're just like, it's whatever it is, a lice that just keeps on coming back or whatever. The itch that just won't go away. And I get called back and she tells me, you'll get a ducat tonight, a little piece of paper, a ticket, and you'll go to a Sally Port and you go to R&R, which is receive and release, to be released. I said, okay, I packed up my stuff. I said my goodbyes to my friends. The next morning I woke up, I have my boxes there, getting ready to leave. I'm waiting for this, I'm like my dog, when she sees me, wants to go for a walk, I got my tail wiggling and everything, wanting to go, get out of here. And I still don't believe it's going to happen. And then an alarm goes off because in the building that I was being housed, another inmate assaulted an officer. So I said, yeah, what else could go wrong, So that delayed it for 2 hours. I went to the Sally Port, and then the correctional officer came, called out names. Mine was in there. I said, okay. I haven't signed no papers of release, nothing. I go to R&R. They isolate me in the cage. They bring me all kinds of meds, and these are the Narcans to help people if they're overdosing. I tell them I don't take meds. I get into a big old argument with them. I'm still not believing this. And I said, I'll take your Narcans. I'm just not going to use them. And then they tell us, okay, we're going to go on the van. I was in protective custody, and there's other people that were not in protective custody. So that also brought some nervousness to me because I might get attacked right there. And this time I really can't fight back because then I'll get it right up and they'll be like, you're still violent. And by fight means I can't defend myself. I have to just ball up. We get to the gate, and I said, right here's where they're going to pull my card. This is where they're going to tell me, oh, the governor had second thoughts about you, whatever. I get off with everybody else. We show our IDs, and we tell our number. Yes, we have numbers, P64149. And then they put us back in the van. And I said, oh man, this is really happening. And they take us out to the parking lot, and my mom and my stepdad, they're right there. And I'm like, shit, the nightmare's over. Little did I know that society changed a lot. So it's, I come out to a halfway house. Yes. So there's a new chapter in my life, post-incarceration. There was many fun things about being previously incarcerated. One of my experiences was using a credit card for the first time. I went out to eat at Mills, right across the street from Target out there on Folsom, and I paid with my credit card. And the waiter brings me a tablet. I said, what is this? And he's French, so he's like not really engaging. And I'm like, what is this? What do you want me to do with this? And he goes, well, you could tip me. I go, I'm gonna tip you cash. And then he goes, well, sign it. I go, well, give me a pen. And he goes, use your finger. And I said something that's probably not welcome in the space, but you're kidding me. That's what I said. And then I used my finger and I said, okay, this really works. Other people had their stories in the halfway home that I landed, and we would share them. One of my friends went to a bank to open up a bank account, has no job history. Family gave him some money. And as the teller is looking at him like, your story's not checking out. He says, well, I spent so many years in prison. And she said, oh my God, you didn't kill somebody. And they said, well, as a matter of fact, I did. And we're like, we're normal people in prison because we know each other's crime. And that doesn't fade us. But we don't understand when we're coming out here that people don't believe that we exist. So I had my struggles in the housing that I went to. which was a semi-prison. And when I left that place, I left there in February 21, almost 3 years. But I also left there stressed out because I had the most stressful year of my life. When I committed my crime, it was only a short period that I was in court and a lot of confusion. But being released, going to the board, waiting, even to the day that I got released, and then seeing there's a lot of stuff there, and then society, getting the job. Ooh, I finally got my apartment. And I continued to come to the center, but I re-engaged in alcoholism to help me cope with a lot of the stressors, because alcohol is a lot easier than Buddhism. It is. It really is. Because alcohol will numb your desires. Buddhism will help you deal with them, not numb them. You'll go to battle with them in meditation, following the eightfold path. I remember again going back to people do not want to believe that we exist, and I guess I'm using the pronoun now. We. I was drinking at a bar and went out to smoke a cigar. The female bartender came out, and we were talking, flirting. She asked me for my number. We were told to be upfront with people, and I told her, before I give you my number, I spent so many years in prison, and it was for murder. And she told me it was self-defense, right? Well, murder and self-defense don't go together. So this is the stuff that sometimes I have to come to terms with. Today I'm a little bit more careful on who I tell. I do speak about my case in AA groups, and I recently started speaking here. More or less because I sit next to Augusta when she's running the service. So I don't feel that it's okay to parade around what you did, but only to the spaces that are appropriate for it. And I just got a cramp. Ay, wolf. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's
Do you want a glass of water?
no. So without getting into details, I got into some trouble, not with the law, but in relationships. And that really affected me. And I was very bitter. Even though I came to these groups, I was going to the recovery group that's here and everything, but I wasn't practicing. So Buddhism, the Eightfold Path, when you're meditating, you're following the right understanding, the right intentions, and the ethics. They help you deal with this. They help you to, not necessarily forgive, but let go of that grudge. And by I say not forgiving, that doesn't mean you still harbored certain feelings toward a person, but you set up boundaries towards people. I forgot the very principle of what Buddhism teaches you. And one weekend, it was just put back to me right in my lap. I went to Abhayagiri Monastery, and I heard the monk speak. And he said, you could be right and according to the worldly views, but that does not bring peace. He said, letting go is what brings peace. The next day, Yoshi and John took me to the Insight Meditation Center, and I talked to Gil, and he spoke about the Buddhist version of forgiveness or letting go. And he had this little conversation with me and gave me some very good gems. He said, when you're in conflict with somebody, go to a safe space and let those feelings come up. Don't suppress them. Don't go to the bar. Don't go drink alcohol. Don't go work out and just work out your anger. No, let them come, feel them. Let them do what they're going to do to you. But don't attach, don't hold on to them. And as far as dealing with the other person, just keep the precepts, you'll be okay. And if they want your relationship to be what it was, you could be honest with them in a respectful way and say, I was hurt by you. And that trust is no longer there. And I don't know what you could do to regain my trust. But as far as our relationship as the way it used to be, it's not there no more. And that was something that I needed to hear. One of the things is that I spoke to Augusta about this. Don't ask me to feel compassion for a person that's beating on me. It's hard. I had another teacher, Jonathan Landau, who I spoke to. He's an older fella, and he told me about stupid compassion or stupid forgiveness. He says, a man catches his wife and his best friend cheating on them, and he forgives them. No, you don't. That you're just saying it because that hurt's still in you. So that pain starts deteriorating. I found out through the hard way that holding on to that resentment just prolongs your suffering. And not this year, but last year when we had a party here, this woman who's part of the Sangha, I haven't seen her in a while, she came and talked to me about how her husband used her, her ex-husband. And I'm telling her, don't engage with those feelings. It's not going to bring nothing good to you. She still did, and I don't know where she's been now. But her last words before she left is, I gotta go cut, and then it's a B. I'm not going to say the word. And I don't know what was she planning or doing, but she really had a lot of pain. I'm like, and the reason she spoke to me is because in recovery groups, I spoke about my pain and my wrong aspirations and my wrong views. And I justified them because I felt that I was a victim. But I didn't understand that the biggest victimizer is me holding on to those things. So again, the eightfold path teaches you to let go of this. And you just gotta engage in it. I wish alcohol could do that, but it doesn't. So, yeah, that's what I have. And so the world has continued to change frequently. A lot of people speak about our political climate. I'm not really going to get into that. I don't watch TV, and I started engaging in cooking, so it's more healing. Oh, I think if we should give a little space for anybody that wants to share or have questions or just share experience, whatever. This would be appropriate. Go ahead.
I want to thank you very much, Jorge, for your story. And both Jimmy and David at the dojo wanted to be here. Jimmy's in Cambodia, and David really couldn't make it tonight. They both wanted to come. I wanted to ask, do you have any goals or intentions for the future? What do you feel like you have to contribute to this world? Because I think a lot of us look at you and really admire you, but I wonder how you feel about that.
When I first got out of prison, I was lost because I know in Buddhism we're not supposed to have an identity. We're supposed to take off our mask and understand that we are who we are depending on what time of the day you ask us. But in prison, I was the guy that was running the Sangha in the absence of qualified teachers, Yoshi and John, among others. But so the yard knew me as the Buddhist teacher, the guy. They used to call me Buddhist George. And and when I came out here, I was just another guy in the Sangha. And it's not sitting here, it's the practice. And I think I want to re-engage to that level of practice that I had that brought me so much peace. I was just thinking about when I agreed to do this with Augusta, when I was engaged in the practice on a day-to-day basis, and then when my mind started wandering to the possibility of being free, the craving of being free had an end goal of being happy at the end. But it wasn't happiness that I was seeking, it was peace. And it was the peace that I had when I engaged in the practice. So it's kind of like I drifted away looking for something that I already had. And I would like to just re-drift. It's kind of like my life unfolded and it became chaotic. And I want to infold back, refold my life to being a whole person. And I'm willing to share that with anyone if I'm asked to. That's what I want.
Is there an audience you think you could serve by sharing that with them? Because, driving a truck across the country back and forth, there's not going to be no audience.
Yeah, throw me under the bus. I,
You're
rec-
strong.
I recently quit my job and I'm taking truck driving classes right now to do that. And to be honest with you, I kind of started fantasizing that my truck will be a moving cave where I could engage in my practice. Me and my demons. I did solitary confinement. No big deal. I get to see the rest of the country. But it's, the everything's uncertain. I don't know where that truck driving is going to take me. And maybe I'll just be driving local and be able to come to the Sangha.
So right now, when you're driving your truck, not the semi, but just your truck or on your bicycle, are you practicing it being your king? Like, are you engaging with that?
No, I'm just mindful at the moment. It's
So I mean, that idea, you could try that now. While you're waiting till you're in the semi.
yeah, I guess I could. One of the things that Naomi said, I forgot what provoked this thought, but Ajahn Chah spoke that everything teaches us. And there's a book, not written by him, but it's just composed by some of his lectures, and it's called exactly that, Everything Teaches Us. And so you could take a moment and look at the trees and see how it starts decaying, the leaves falling. Very beautiful contemplation practice. My sister's right there. That's Daisy. And she got my other dog. She kidnapped it. And the last time I seen Luther, he had grown so much. And so you start seeing the impermanence, how things change. and it's just accepting it. That's that's just a practice. Not you don't have to add no story to it. It's just nature, reality. I used to have highlights when I was before I went to prison, and now I got different types of highlights. So things change all the time. Just just engage with it. Before we close this service, I'll give a couple of things just to have a little laugh. It's important to have a teacher, but it's important to have a teacher you trust. I engaged in a cultivating compassion training, and one of the things that was to bring somebody in mind and think about their suffering. I did not pay attention in the instruction to say, do not pick somebody that's very close to you at first. That comes later. It's like working out. You got to get stronger to withstand that. So who did I pick? I picked my mother. And for that whole month until that teacher came back, I was engaged in a lot of terrible feelings of just how I imagined her suffering. And then Yoshi and Jan, I missed something from their teachings when I was in prison about just having not using the breath, but just being mindful of your thoughts. But I forced it. I did not use right effort. And what happened that day, I had this awareness of, I could only describe it as being paranoid, but without the fear. And I couldn't shut it off. So it's always good to have a teacher. The book that I had was great, but when you have somebody you could say, hey, I had this, and that, and these are experienced teachers for many years, they could better suit you. So we're gonna.
So I would like to say something that, to me, your story, the Buddha, the promise of the Buddha is that we can be happy under any circumstances.
Yes.
And hearing, that you could practice through these very difficult times, it brings me confidence and faith that this is possible. So thank you.
So Jorge, I'm going to ask you to engage in the hardest part of this evening, is to let in the beautiful love that's being echoed back to you. 2 more bells.
Okay.
To feel this co-regulation that we're experiencing, feel the opportunity to be with Yosh and John on the outside, to have them be here with Marshall and Hugh and us, all of us here together at the collective, right? In this community that's yours, as April named, where we co-regulate. Just 2 more. Feeling the love that we all have for you. The witnessing that we all just bore.
Done?
We're done.
There's a little ritual that I like doing at the end of the practice. I used to do this in prison, And if it's okay, we could pass that bell around.
The spell, yeah, for sure. With the cushion, without the cushion.
Does it ring without the cushion?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what I used to do to close out a service
You just have to be taught.
is I would ask the members of the Sangha to take the bell and send out their merits to whoever they want to. And it could be a group of people, so forth. And I'll start and we'll go to Zoom. And if anybody in Zoom wants to, I'll ring the bell for them and they could just say where they want the merit to be. So I'll start it and I say, may the merit of this practice go out to all incarcerated people across the world. Anybody in Zoom? Okay, we're going to pass the bell around.
If you hold your hand taut, you'll get a fuller sound from the bell.
May the merits of this practice May the merits of this practice go out to everyone struggling with the feelings of freedom and know that freedom comes from within.
And the merits of this practice go to all who still struggle with alcohol and drug addiction.
May the merit of this practice may the merit of the practice go to the children of and all the children who are suffering at the moment, whether it's hunger or violence, homelessness, to all the children of the world.
As I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, I've been home from a long retreat for a couple of weeks, and I just caught up with somebody who was also there. And in the past week, he's had to go to the ER for kidney stones and also euthanize his dog. So it really all comes at once. And we had a good chat, and I would like to dedicate the merit of this practice to John.
I'd like to dedicate the merit of this practice to all those suffering in Gaza.
dedicate the merit of this practice to people fighting for freedom, including people of Iran and Ukraine.
I dedicate this practice to all those who are experiencing the hell of anxiety and loss of hope.
I would like to dedicate the merits of this practice to victims of injustice, those who suffer under it, and those who create it.
May the merit of our practice be shared with all beings and all of life, especially those living in fear. And may we all be free.
I'd like to dedicate the merit of this practice to all people who are desperate and who don't have hope, especially in my country, Iran.
And then one more check on Zoom land. Does anyone want to offer up the merit to in any particular direction?
Not on yours?
May the fruits of our practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere, without exception.
We could end the practice.
Do you want to end it?
Huh?
Do you want to end it, or just finish now?
We could just take 3 prostrations. You could do standing or sitting, doesn't really matter. One for the Buddha? Yeah. Okay, one for the Buddha. To the Dharma. And to the Sangha. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you guys.